Hey, who'd you talk to? What's going on? Uh, this is legit paranormal news brought to you by legitpodcast.com. It is July 12th, 2023. I am King Mike L.
I am Dreamy David Barr.
Cyn Shrader Hill.
Machine Mandy.
And David, now for the top story. But first, Dave, I got some more actual facts that I don't think real.
All right.
They're really facts, but I don't necessarily think that they're real. Okay.
All right.
Viewers,
What do you got?
Yeah, all right. A sloth's fart does not stink. I don't believe it.
Maybe it's slow in reaching people's nostrils.
There it is, Dave. Dave, they didn't wait. Yep. Chances of a hole in one, David, 12,500 to 1. But oddly enough, a 1 in 20 and 1 in 12,500 lottery is better odds than hitting a hole in one. That doesn't even make sense. If there's actually a Lego bridge in Germany. Germany has much worse than Lego bridges. Every swan in the United Kingdom is owned by Prince Charles. He's doing a horrible job as a pet owner, if that's the case. Like, guy has not cleaned up once. Let's see. The Eiffel Tower gets smaller in the summer. I think that all depends on your point of view, Dave. The human heart beats about 100,000 times a day. Now, I hate averages, and I'll tell you why. I don't think anybody's heart really beats 100,000 times a day. I think maybe there's a couple people, the few, right? Because everybody else has to be above it or below it to get an average. I hate when they say that.
Right. We need the bell curve, right?
Yeah, they're not explaining it. There's all of us that our hearts probably beat like 200,000 times a day. And then there's people on the beach, they're down in like the fives. But all right. David, 350 slices of pizza are eaten in the US every second. No comment at all. Information in your brain goes roughly 268 miles per hour.
How do they calculate that?
Dave, I don't know. They're scientists. Don't you white coats kind of guys? Formula One goes 220. So if the human brain's roughly going 268, then I would say that I try to drink it down to about a 185. You know what I mean? Slow it down just about there. Bro. Information in your brain. All right, Dave, in baseball, it's 90 feet to get to another base.
Yes.
That's just one more for the non-athletic. I mean, yeah, you just don't want. It's just a long way. Why don't you just say it's a long way? Like 90 feet supposed to scare us. Flamingos only eat with their heads upside down. No comment on that, Dave. Cats have 32 muscles in their ears. I don't really know. That's dumb. That's a lot of muscles for the chicken and ostrich are the closest living relatives to the T-Rex. See, that could be true because I do not trust an ostrich. That is, being serious, like it's an ugly looking bird and it's dumb. That's a dumb animal. Dumb.
And their eggs are huge.
Oh my God, though, it's freaking dumb. I mean, Dave, dumb. Sorry.
Is it the official bird of the dumb, Mike?
Oh no, it's too dumb for us. We don't want anything to do with it. Dr. Seuss invented the word nerd. Too bad he didn't get his hands on bully, after school beaten, or pig pile. A blob of toothpaste is called a nurdle. It's weird. That's a dumb one because it's just actually called a blob, right? Say it in the name. It's just. Barbie's full name is Barbie Roberts Barbara Millicent Roberts. So Barbie's actual real name is Barbara Millicent Roberts.
I actually knew that one because I have an 8-year-old daughter.
Barbie Roberts sounds like a serial killer. Tell me it doesn't. Like a girl on the run, Barbie Roberts. Like that would be on the news. The moon has registered moonquakes. I get all excited about this one, honestly, Dave, and I didn't write anything down but moon pies. People used to believe that kissing a donkey relieved the toothache.
What?
Yeah, that's a fact.
You know why? Because the thing would probably kick you in the mouth after you did that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not shocked at all, honestly. And it's almost like good advice as to how dumb things were. They should put that on coffee mugs. Like read it every morning, reminded that they used to kiss a donkey for a toothache. That's how dumb we are. Slinkies are over 82 feet long. I have a theory to try to cut them back to 60 feet. My theory is if we cut them back to 60 feet, we'd be saving a lot of slinky, and they'd be just as fun. Dave, an ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. There you go. And there you go about ostriches. Told you, dumb. Astronauts say that space smells like hot meat. That is, Dave, absolutely gross. Just gross. Like, I didn't want to know that it's gross. And you could read about that and more in my new book, Gross. That's Just Gross, by Mike Lepre. Over to you, David.
All right. So speaking of scientists, we're going to talk about out-of-body experiences.
Okay.
Because from the All Things Considered section on NPR, scientists think they have pinpointed the special part of the brain that, when stimulated, appears to produce out-of-body experiences. Now, they also say certain drugs can produce an out-of-body experience, and so can a pulse of electricity if it's sent to the right place in the brain. NPR's John Hamilton reports on a brain area that seems to keep us attached to our physical selves most of the time. So a few years ago, Dr. Yosef Parvizi got a visit from a patient who suffered from epilepsy. The man told Dr. Parvizi about some really strange symptoms that he was experiencing. He said that his sense of self was changing, almost like he was a third observer to conversations that were happening in his mind that he wasn't a part of. So he's experiencing this weird disconnect. Plus, he said he just felt like he was floating in space. So,
wait a minute. Is he disconnected, or did somebody join him?
I don't know. Epilepsy did something to this guy's brain. So
Okay, go.
All right. So Parvizi, he's a neurology professor at Stanford. He became intrigued by this. He figured that the man's seizures must be affecting an area of the brain called the PMC, which is hidden in between the two hemispheres, and it's in the back. The PMC helps to create what they call our narrative self. So it's like our internal autobiography that helps us define who we are.
The PMC.
PMC, that's what
Thank
they
you.
call it. Dr. Parvizi figured the PMC was also responsible for our physical self. So this part of the brain tells us that our body and our thoughts belong to us and not somebody else. So, you're sitting there watching me on the video screen, and it's, that you're looking at me, and that this is me and that's you, and your point of view in space and your environment is exactly your point of view and not someone else's. So it's kind of
Say that again. Say that again.
It's how you're perceiving the world. Like,
Okay.
we're in the studio, you're sitting there, I'm sitting here, you have a definition of you and a definition of me. So you know what's you and what isn't you. And so when this part of the brain gets stimulated a certain way, that seems to disappear. So you lose that sense of self.
That's kind of fun.
It could be kind of wild, I guess.
And what is that drug called? No, I'm kidding.
Actually, we'll get to the drug that causes that.
No, I
towards
got
the
my
end of
pen
the
out.
story there.
All right.
So the sense of being anchored to your body disappears when you have this out-of-body experience. And these are the things that man with epilepsy was experiencing. So Dr. Parvizi and a team were able to recreate the man's symptoms by electrically stimulating the PMC. Then they tried this approach on several other volunteers.
Wait. Electrically?
Yes.
What do you mean by that? Shocking them?
Kind of like sending a little shock to a specific area of the brain, the PMC.
Just shocking it.
I guess I don't know exactly how they did it, but yes, they kind of shocked that little area of the brain. So they did this. They recreated what the man was experiencing. Then they tried it on volunteers. And Dr. Parvizi said it became clear that a person's sense of physical self was tied to that special part of the brain called the PMC, because all the people that they did this to had the same experience. They lost that sense of self, and they had that floating out of the body kind of experience.
All right. So let's go over this.
Okay.
They found this part of the brain.
Yes.
The run PMC, and they figured out a way that it was the cause of a good time. No, it was the cause of losing the sense of oneself and feeling more, I guess, part of everything else.
Just being disconnected to self and not having that sense of self anchoring you anywhere,
So that would be like a pill of Zen.
Potentially. I guess it depends on how you experience it and whether you consider it a good experience or a scary experience. Some people might enjoy floating up out of the body, and other people might find it terrifying that, oh, hey, I'm not in my body anymore, or I don't have this sense of self.
Let's do a vote quick, Dave. Cyn, would you rather be just Cyn, or would you rather be just part of like the universe?
Depends on what time of day
Wow.
and how stressed I am.
Wow. That's a real Cyn answer. All right. Cyn, by the way, I meaning to tell you about the Cyn Shrader Hill, Cyn Shrader Hill Author. I've begun saying it way too much all the time when I say your name. It's actually become an issue, and my thought process was maybe we shorten it. I don't know, but you can actually read about it in the Cyn Shrader Hill Author expose. Just shorten the name Cyn Shrader Hill Author by Cyn Shrader Hill Author in Mike Lepre.
No.
You're welcome. Dave.
No.
All right. Back to Dr. Parvizi. He says that he and his team discovered that towards the front of the brain, there's a sausage-looking piece of the brain called the anterior precuneus.
What?
You got that, Mike? The anterior precuneus.
Interior? Precuneus?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So they stimulated this area in 8 patients, the anterior precuneus. And they discovered that everybody had a change in what they call the physical self when this area was stimulated. So the results of their study appear in the journal Neuron, and Parvizi says that the anterior precuneus is critical to understanding that something is happening to me and not another person. They think this is a way for the brain to tag every experience in the environment as mine and not someone else's.
Or a trap. Right?
The anterior precuneus. You got that, Mike?
Yeah, interior sounds like somebody from like the Kraken. What was the movie called? Sounds like that guy's about to yell release the Kraken. That's about as far as I'm gonna go with that name.
All right. So now we move on to
Precuneus, right? Precuneus?
Precuneus, yes.
Can you see here? Precuneus.
Oh, it's like a Harry Potter
Kraken.
Anterior precuneus.
Yeah, set loose the Kraken. All right, got it. My bad.
All right. So now we go to Christophe Lopez. He's another researcher. He's at the National Center for Scientific Research in France. Okay. He says that Parvizi's findings make sense because he thinks that our physical self comes in part from the inner ear. which senses our motion and the body's position in space. So he says that Parvizi's team found evidence supporting his views. Lopez says that the anterior precuneus appears to act as a hub for signals coming from the inner ear. So the inner ear communicates with this part of the brain. And again, when they stimulate the anterior precuneus, they evoke that the body or the self is floating in the room, like the body is rising or falling in free fall. And as a result of this, the inner ear may be saying that the body is moving, while the person's eyes are saying that it's stationary. So the signals get mixed. It's like crossing the streams, Mike. You used that reference the other day, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Don't say that about me. I didn't say that. Why would you
Okay.
say that? I didn't say that.
I don't know. Don't. Anyway, don't cross the streams. Little Ghostbusters reference.
Yeah.
So the inner ear is saying that the body is moving and floating, and a person's eyes are saying no, it's stationary, and the brain
Dave.
has to make sense of this.
Dave,
Yes.
didn't I tell you that? Cyn, you may remember this story. Mandy, you wouldn't have heard this. You don't want to hear it, but I had some sort of infection that went through my ear, my left side, and it went deaf. This was in this year. I lost hearing in it. And how I found this out was I woke up one day drunk, but I didn't drink, Dave. I don't know what was going on. I couldn't even stand up. I would stand up, the room would spin like if someone was trying to spin me. I'd fall. I get up, try to walk again. I'm like, I actually said to myself, am I drunk? Then I'm like, can't be, didn't drink. I'm like, did somebody give me something? I'm like, can't be. I don't think the kids would do that. They might, but I don't think they would. And then I was like, what else can it be? And I was like, my ear is swelled up. And yeah, it totally messes with your face. Dude, in boxing, you hit somebody in the ear, rings their whole head. Everything just goes, it's like a gun went off. That, woo, just awful. Continue. I'm sorry. I digress.
So Lopez says when these signals get mixed up, the brain gets confused. And sometimes the best solution for the brain is to think that you're somewhere outside your body. So they can produce this sensation not just by electrical stimulation, but by administering ketamine to someone. So the drug ketamine.
Ketamine?
Yes. This also creates the out-of-body sensation.
Allegedly.
Experience.
We're going to say that's allegedly.
No, this is from a study by Patrick Purdon at Harvard. He's been studying the drug's effects at the brain.
Again, Dave, I've already stated that even though they're 100% facts, it does not mean I have to believe them.
It's true.
It
Yeah,
reminds me of astroplaning, kind of, in a way.
What does?
The story he's talking about, where people are having these out-of-body experiences. It reminds me of astroplaning, where people can actually travel. They believe they travel outside of their body to another location.
So you think they're using the PMC, maybe? I'm being serious. I know that sounds sarcastic, but I'm being serious. So you think maybe it's the PMC part of the brain that's making them fly?
That's the one he was talking about.
They could be, if they're someone who's been practicing whatever to do the astroplaning. Maybe I've never personally done it, but I've done remote viewing, but that's a little more different than the astroplaning.
So let's see what Dave thinks. Dave, if you can answer that question. And secondly, I guess would shocking your own PMC be like steroids?
Well, we do know that breathing can alter our state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So breathing, relaxation, there are certain techniques and exercises that people can practice and create the out-of-body experience. So depending on how you're breathing, it affects your brainwave activity. And if you can relax your brain enough, and there's another state called mind awake, body asleep. So if you can kind of keep your brain conscious while your body's falling asleep, that will also produce the out-of-body sensation. This has been studied a lot by Robert Monroe and the Monroe Institute in Virginia. So there are people who can do this naturally, supposedly. Sometimes it happens to people spontaneously, which is what happened to Robert Monroe. He wanted to study what exactly happened during his out-of-body experience and find out if he could recreate it. And he went from being a salesman to owning the Monroe Institute in Virginia. It's a story for another time, but
What's his name again?
Robert Monroe,
What's the name of the institute?
the Monroe Institute in Virginia.
Makes sense.
Yes. Back to Patrick Perdon. So he's saying that ketamine can stimulate the anterior precuneus the same way that the electrical pulses can, and that disrupts the function of the brain, and that also causes the out-of-body sensation. And he's theorizing that it might be possible to use electrical pulses instead of using anesthetic drugs like ketamine somewhere down the line where they won't
What's his name again?
Patrick Perdon.
He's a jerk. I don't mean that. I'm just saying. I got caught up in what you're saying. He was just trying to take away a good time from a bunch of people and get us shocked. What the hell's going on right there?
Yeah, but if you could have...
Allegedly, I would... Look. I do not take veterinarian drugs. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. That's ridiculous. Ketamine is ridiculous.
Mike, what he's saying is that instead of administering this drug to a person and having all the nasty side effects that come with it...
Yeah, it's a cat drug.
We can create the same effect using electrical impulses stimulating a certain part of the brain. So he's trying to make anesthesia safer by not having to administer those drugs.
Cyn, is it safe to shock your brain or take a drug?
And you're talking ketamine as the drug?
Yes.
Oh, do I have to name the drug?
Oh, yeah.
Did I tell you the voltage? No.
Oh, well, you got to tell me both, because if it's Tylenol, I would just go ahead and take the Tylenol. I don't really want to get shocked.
I'm sorry.
Just saying.
Dave, continue.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Continue.
All right. So Perdon also says that stimulating the anterior precuneus might even reproduce ketamine's powerful antidepressant effect. So, and there have been other studies on this where using electrical shocks to stimulate certain parts of the brain can relieve depression. So,
so there's pressure now?
Depression.
Oh.
He's saying we can use this same procedure to help people suffering from depression instead of loading them up on drugs.
Interesting.
So shock them instead of give them drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a smart idea. Like, I think I would take a couple shocks. I might stop by if they do that. Would that be something like they just did at the pharmacy, you think?
Who knows? I mean, like they have things like TENS machines that relieve pain. So, it takes the electrical impulses from one side of the body and sends those signals up to the brain so that the brain ignores the pain coming from the other side of the body. So why not be able to do that, in other applications?
Well, because I want it on my head where the brain is. I want it right on the PMS. And like, I have a big head to begin with, but like, it's like my hats are huge. Anyways, it's gonna go through your skull, so I want it to get through there.
I don't think it's gotta go through your skull. Like, I mean, they're not like implanting anything in your skull.
But that's where my brain is. Like, if you're gonna shock my brain, you better hit it. I want the wires to touch it. Like, I think that's where I'm at. Like, I don't want to take something that just shocks my brain. Like, I want to, because you can't risk the chance that it's actually going to completely work, can you?
No.
With that?
No. But the question, David, so where are the are they using like this electronic pin looking thing that they stick to certain parts of the head? Or, I mean, is this, you would think if they were trying to stimulate parts of the brain,
right,
that they would have to have the brain exposed.
Not necessarily. I'm trying to think. There's a helmet that paranormal investigators use that create a paranormal experience when they cut a ping pong ball in half and put it over the eyes, and they'll have red lights, and then they use some kind of electromagnetic pulse to stimulate the brain, and that creates some kind of paranormal experience for them.
Mandy,
so I would believe this would be along the same lines.
Yeah, I've heard about this. There's a couple different ones. I think there's the one called the God helmet, I believe, and then there's the one.
Wait,
This like
oh, you can't go back. You can't gloss past that. The God helmet.
What
well,
is it?
it's
What
kind of
would consist of a God? If I wanted to go to Lowe's and make a God helmet, what do I got to pick up?
There's a website called godhelmet.com, and it's called
No.
the Shakti. It's the real name is the Shakti helmet. That's what I was thinking of.
okay.
Shakti?
I don't know what's
Yes.
going on anymore.
Like the Shakti dolls?
That I don't know.
What does a God helmet do? Who is your daddy? What does he do? No, seriously. What
So
does
it produces a very weak rotating magnetic field around the temporal lobes and stimulates the brain that way.
Wait a minute.
They
Cyn,
say you see things.
Mandy,
with it.
Yeah.
you wear those?
Yes, it's
No,
kind
I'm
of like
asking these two below
like-
the,
it's like
the
a headband.
tennis squares. What?
it's like a headband with some electrodes on it.
I'm asking them if they wear them though, Dave. Me and you don't wear those. I've never seen you at any of the parties with those on your head. So, Mandy, Cyn, have you guys ever worn these things or ever been with somebody wearing them on an investigation?
I've never heard of it.
Well, I don't have one that he's talking about, but I do have a new piece of equipment, and it is called the Brainwave. And it is an interesting device that Katie Stafford made. There's only so many of us that have this new device, and it is kind of you put this thing on your head, and it has a sensor right here in the middle, and it connects to a spirit box, and it reads your brain waves. Whatever you're thinking, it'll come through this box. So that
Oh, hey, time out.
We don't want to know what Mike's thinking.
On behalf of husbands everywhere, crush the box. Get rid of the box. There should not be a box that can read what I'm thinking, period. Everyone out there, crush the boxes. You know what? I thought this was going to be a fun show, but that's absolutely appalling. Who's Katie Stafford? Do you know her?
No.
All right, because I was going to say, if you did, you never buy a box that puts brainwaves and a sensor on your head from someone you know. That's another tip of advice. But that's
Well,
ridiculous.
Somebody you don't
well
know either.
trusted in the field. They make all kinds of awesome equipment, and we've got a couple of their things they've made. But this device is something unique. It's different, and I use it. Actually, I use it quite a lot when I'm in the field because I'm a medium. So someone like me who's really sensitive, I pick up on a lot of energy, spirits around me. So just having this thing on, it just like intensifies everything. It's awesome.
So while you're walking around, someone's sitting down reading your thoughts like a novel.
It's the spirits are supposed to be reading your thoughts.
All right.
Spirits. So it comes through the spirit box. Whatever I'm thinking, say if I'm picking up on this man, or maybe I'll get a name or whatever happened to
Are
someone.
you at a bar or where are you at right now? What did you just say? You're picking up on what? What happened?
When you have this device on, say if I'm concentrating on what I'm picking up on, like
Okay.
spirit
Yeah,
around
all right.
me,
Thank
when
you.
I'm out investigating. So
Yeah.
whatever I'm getting will come through the spirit box, which the spirit box is what spirits communicate through.
That almost confuses me to the point where I think, is it the spirit box or is it just you? No, I can make a case right there for that. How do you know it's the spirit box? It could be an AM radio. I think you might still be able to make it make noise. Just my opinion.
It's
Dave,
an
were you done?
interesting device.
Yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
Cyn, what do you got on deck?
But this God helmet thing.
Yeah.
I just found a phone number that we can call about it.
You should call, put us on the line, see if we can talk. Because I'll be honest, I don't think anybody should make a God helmet. Like the name itself is just it's scary to me. It's scary to me because I've seen the Avengers. I mean, I've seen movies, and I just think a God helmet. No.
Well, they actually use it. They say you can see spirits when you have this God helmet on. You'll see whatever's around you.
Okay.
You're still not buying it, are you?
No, because I was about to say again, I'm willing to bet you don't need the helmet. However, you're saying it intensifies or it increases my percentages or it stacks the odds in my favor that I'm going to see everything around, right?
That's the theory with the God helmet.
The God helmet. Sounds like the gambler. I would have called it the gambler, right? That's more fitting, Dave, than the God helmet. Sorry, Cyn. I digress.
No, it is a gamble.
Mm,
Yeah.
good
Okay.
point. Good point.
So I'm going to tell you a story out of my 4th book. It's not Goodbye, Signs from Beyond. My friend, Jess Camel, spelled with a K, is a truck driver. He comes from a long line of truck drivers. And he is telling me about a story when he was young. He also started with the town of Alamosita, New Mexico. Now, coming through the years, 1800s or whatever, it was pretty much just a stop for the horses. And they were on their way going toward Denver and all that kind of stuff. So Mexican ranchers, U.S. ranchers, everybody would come through it. By the late 1800s, it was pretty much a ghost town.
Why?
It just, people moved out. In the early 1900s, they decided to make a few changes. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers came in and flooded the area. Now, El Paso is just south of this area, Alamosita. And when they did this flooding, the towns are still under there. And I know we've got a dam close to us that
Please don't swear, Cyn.
what?
Never mind.
They covered cemeteries. They covered, they tried to move some bodies, but others they couldn't get to or whatever. And houses and everything is still under there. So same thing with this area in New Mexico. They dammed the Rio Grande to do it. So fast forward, it becomes known as Elephant Butte.
What?
At the time, Elephant Butte. At the time in
Wait,
1916.
no. I'm being. Do you want to be serious? Did you say elephant youth?
Butte.
Elephant,
Butte.
like elephant, as in like the big animal. Then butte.
Yeah.
Butte.
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 Yes.
Butte.
Go with me.
Elephant Butte. All right.
Thank you. All right.
I didn't know. I swear to God, because
So 1916. This was the second largest dam in the world. It was also the largest reservoir in the world. So not second on that. It was the largest. Okay.
Oh no.
Now, fast forward to 1980.
Oh no.
Jess is on a fishing boat, a small fishing boat, with his father, his grandfather, and his uncle. They're fine fishing. Jess is terrified because not long before this, he had been taking swimming lessons, and the guy teaching the lessons actually held him underwater until he breathed in water. They had to do CPR on Jess to bring him back.
Was that the lesson?
It was part of the lesson, and Jess was so freaked out by the incident. He didn't even tell his mom. He didn't. And so next time he came back for his swimming lesson, he didn't want to get out of the car. And she beat him. She whooped, he says, gave him a 1980s ass whooping and made him go take his lesson. Well, he was terrified of water. So he's in this fishing boat with 3 men that he loves and trusts fishing. He doesn't want to be there. His dad gets pissed and fed up and says, okay, done. I'm going to teach you how to swim. Just stop all this crap. Picks him up, throws him in the water. Instead of splashing around, Jess starts sinking and sinking and sinking and doesn't come up. His grandfather and uncle dive in to find him. They looked where the bubbles had been, and they ended up pulling him up. He was out. He was out. They had to go back to the marina, call 911 on the rotary phone because there was no such thing as cells and all that good stuff back then. He flatlined. They used the paddles on him 3 times on the way to the hospital. 3 times. They did bring him back, and it was found soon afterwards that he has no natural buoyancy at all. None. He just sinks like a rock. Now, the thing is, when he was sinking, he had this strange sensation of something holding onto his ankles, pulling him down. When he got deep enough, he looked around and could see the city that had been flooded. So he can see all these buildings. He's terrified. And right before he passes out, he feels like he's being pulled. All right. Fast forward.
Can I just say something really quick?
Yes.
A couple things. Natural buoyancy.
Yep.
What? People are naturally buoyant? That doesn't just come with the gig?
Yeah. Some
Okay.
people float more than others.
I just think some people can't relax their back and lay back and just let their body float.
That can be some of it, but also the more fat on your body, usually you can float more. More muscle in your body makes you sink more. Normally.
So
But
if there's a great flood coming, we're doing it wrong.
Maybe.
Also, Dave, wouldn't you ask your swimming instructor on day 1 if any part of the instructing would be drowning?
You would think that wouldn't be part of the lesson, Mike, so you wouldn't have to ask that question.
No, I ask anyways, because that's the one thing I can think about being in the water that I don't want to happen. So I would ask day 1 about the worst thing I can think of in the water, and I'm just spitting off the top of my head, but it'd be drowning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No drowning. We're not drowning today, right, Coach? That's
Yeah.
like, right? All right, I'm sorry. Cyn, back to you.
No. That's good.
You know I had to do with you. Good.
All right. So, interestingly enough, in Hispanic culture, there's a woman called La Llorona.
Mm-hmm.
It translates into the crier,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes from there are different versions, but mostly they say that this woman, her husband left.
Mm-hmm.
She had. Now he told me the one where she had cheated on her husband, and the husband left her. But there's also other ones that say she caught him with another woman. So there's like 4 or 5 different versions of this story.
Well, let's go with the real one, and it was probably that he did the cheating, because we know, men are scum. Dave, right? Men are scum. Would you agree?
Pretty much. Most men.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Back to you, Cyn.
All right. So when the husband left, she drowned her 2 children. Now, she was also so distraught after she did that she killed herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she has to spend eternity walking, crying for her children, looking for her kids, and some Latinos and some Americans as well use this story to keep the kids reined in so they won't get too close to water that's dangerous or wander away from them, because La Llorona can get you. She's out there looking for kids, right?
Mandy?
I've heard the story she's talking about.
Yes.
And
She
you believe it?
screams, doesn't she? She also lets out a awful scream.
Yes.
It's very terrifying.
Yes. Yes. And it says, well, they call her either the crying woman, the wailer, or something. Yes, she's always screaming because she's lost her 2 kids, and she's going to take 2 with her. She's going to find some. But anyway, he feels like he says he never saw anyone, never. But he saw the buildings as he was going down, and all he could think about was La Llorona was pulling him down.
Ooh. No.
All right. You know what? That's really creepy. That's
yes,
really creepy. But
he still has night terrors over this, and that was when he was a little boy. So again,
what's his first name?
Jess Campbell.
Jess.
Hey Jess, and I think he's probably listening right now because I told him I was going to tell a story.
Jess, but, Jess, can I give you my I'm not a doctor, nor do I pretend to be one, but let me give you an idea about the drowning thing. So the only reason I didn't react when you got thrown in the water is because I think everyone that lives in my state at one point or another was thrown in the water by their dad. It was just something that they did, and it was see, the thing was, though, where I differ was I panicked and paddled. That's what they kind of wanted you to do, and they would jump in after you. They wouldn't wait for you. But if he dropped, that's kind of scary. And secondly, I'm not a big fan of that La Llorona. Is that what it is?
La Llorona.
All right. Not a big fan because she has to come off as sympathetic, like really, like a sympathetic figure, right? I'm crying. I keep crying for eternity. I'm looking for my kids. You killed your kids.
Exactly.
You know where they are. They're where you left them. Problem solved, La Llorona. Stop crying. I don't want to hear someone cry that just killed their kids. I don't. So maybe the screaming, but I didn't even want to hear that. And you know what? Is she really trapped for eternity doing that? Is she just trapped bothering us with her screams? And I can't help you because Dave, what happened to the kids?
She drowned them herself.
Thank you. So what do you think they were? What do you think where they were? Back where, tub.
Wherever
I don't know.
She left them.
There you go. Cyn, I don't get it. I don't know. Sorry, but I mean,
I got my Sharona stuck in my head now.
Yeah, I did, because I almost said that. You heard me. It was in my tone. I almost said it. I almost lost it. I held myself back.
My Sharona? Yeah. You almost said that?
Sharona. Sorry. Sharona. All right. Was that it? That's an amazing story. It's it's scary
as hell. It's scary as hell.
If he believes it, here's the thing. If he believes it, then it happens.
He was a little boy. He was a little boy that had grown up in the El Paso area, hearing about La Llorona his whole young life. Why wouldn't he think about La Llorona pulling him down? Of course she's pulling him down.
Because they never said she had like Aquaman skills. We thought she was just somebody who walked around and cried. Now she's in the pool. She's in
that reservoir.
Oh, true.
She is in any body of water that she wants to be in, taking whatever kid she wants. So in his head, La Llorona had him.
There's a video of something like
La Llorona. You gonna say? The video of what?
Of the lady she's talking about floating down the river in a white dress with long black hair.
Dave, she's floating.
Someone was in the river and they captured this video of this thing following them, and it was in the water, and it looks like a woman with long black hair and like she's in a white dress, and she's underneath the water for a long time just following them. So I don't know, it's creepy.
I would have thought it was a dead body and I had a line caught to it. I don't know. I would never think that's a ghost. I think Dave, we did it again. Happen again. Business trip. Mandy, what do you have on deck?
All right, so this is a very interesting story. I have listened to this before, and it's so creepy. So this is a story about someone who believes that they might have encountered a vampire. Okay, believe what you want, but it's just a story, and it's a very interesting one. So Shannon Legro interviewed this guy on Into the Fray. Okay, and this guy who waited, I mean, he waited years to tell his story because it took place, I believe it was back in the 70s, something around the 70s era. And he didn't tell his story until 2020. He waited a
So wait a
long
minute.
time.
He saw a vampire in the 70s.
I believe yes, the 70s. But the
In
thing is,
any other decade, you got me. But the way people dress in the 70s,
well,
I bet he saw a lot of vampires when you look around. No offense.
well, the thing is, these group of friends who just got out of school, they were going to party. They were going to California to the beach to hang out, party. It was spring break, so they had this place on the beach, and there was a guy that was around, looked like he was around their age to them, and he had longer hair. And they're all having a good time drinking, and this guy just comes up to them, and they're all hanging out, having a good time, and they take the party inside to the beach house. And
Is this Kiefer Sutherland?
no,
Is this the Lost Boys? Are you, Mandy? Are you giving a review of the Lost Boys?
I do love the Lost Boys. That was a good show. But no, this is
Yes, it was.
Why's actual story that he told his story, and it gets very interesting.
Okay.
So they're inside the house, and everyone's drinking, having a good time, and they allow this guy to stay with them for like 2 or 3 nights, right? Well, the weird thing was there was the guy who told the story and this other lady who was there. They were sensing something weird about this guy. Something was off. So it really freaked them out. This guy was sitting on the couch and looked at the guy who I'm talking about, who was telling his story. And the man's face was distorted looking, like his face it wasn't him. He looked like an older man. It wasn't the young man that they were seeing. And his face was just, the way he told the story, it was very creepy.
Did he eat noodles?
No. But he looks over at this girl, and she sees the same thing. And so she was so terrified by it, she didn't want to tell her story. And she never did tell her story, but she did mention it to this guy that told the story. But she would never tell anyone else what had happened. So anyway, they decided when this guy fell asleep, they were going to go through his clothes, right? Well, they found this black book that he had on him. And inside this book, it had a list of all kinds of people's names and their places where they had lived. This all it contained was names and places of these people's where they were from, lived. They thought that was very weird. Well, he goes on to talk about how this guy was acting really weird towards them, and he was reading their minds. He was getting inside their mind, talking to them. And it was really freaking these guys, freaking them out. The 2 people he was doing this to. He wasn't doing it to everyone. So, after they ended up leaving, for spring break and whatever, they get together and start talking about what they had witnessed, the guy and the girl. And she didn't even really want to talk about it, but she admitted that that guy was in her head. She could hear him and how his face was distorted, and it really scared her so bad. And she didn't want to bring it up until that guy asked her, was she experiencing the same thing? Because I think he had mentioned it to her when they were still at the beach house. So long story short, then Shannon Legro gets interviewed by these podcasters. They're called From the Shadows. And you can find this on YouTube. This is all on YouTube. And it's also on Spotify. They interviewed her telling the story about the man they interviewed who claims he had this encounter with this vampire. And when they were interviewing her, there was an EVP captured. An EVP was captured, and they didn't know it at the time until they played it back and was, going over the show, making sure everything was
The boring time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, this voice came out of nowhere, and it was none of them. They heard this voice, and it says, "I'm a vampire." And I heard the EVP recorder. Unreal. It was so creepy. I mean, I'm not saying vampires are real, but the story, to hear this story, and then when they interviewed this lady who interviewed the guy, and then you hear this EVP recording of this spirit or whatever it is saying, "I'm a vampire."
Mandy, where was this?
This was in California.
Where in California?
I don't remember where, but you got to go check it out on YouTube or Spotify. Unreal.
It wasn't Santa Clara, was it?
I don't remember.
No, I think that's the town from Lost Boys. I'm just messing with Mandy.
Well, and you said it was in the 70s?
Yes. And it's if you want to hear the podcast on this, it's Shannon Lee Bro. Into the Fro.
Interestingly enough, during the 70s, in the area of Sacramento, is the serial killer Richard Trenton Chase that was known as the Vampire of Sacramento.
Oh, wow.
So I wonder if that's connected somehow. He actually, he killed 6 people in the span of a month in 77 and 78, within a month. And he would drink their blood, and he cannibalized their remains. So I wonder if this is connected at all.
I don't know, but they said his appearance, he looked young, but when he was sitting in the house and he looked at that guy, the guy was creeped out because his face was distorted looking, and the guy was literally in his mind talking to him. He could hear that guy talking to him. The girl said the same thing happened to her, and they were pretty freaked out, and they didn't tell the story until, years later. They came out with it.
Dave,
Mike?
Is Cyn trying to break actual news?
That is, but it could be related.
Is that what she's trying to do? That could actually be news. Is that what she's doing, Dave?
It could be. We may have uncovered a connection here, Mike.
I'm just seeing if there is a connection.
Tuesday, 11:30. Don't park in the front. So now, Mandy, are you a believer in vampires? Let me ask you that. You can say yes or no. We're not going to.
I don't see one in front of my face, but I do think there is things out there that we can't explain. Are they vampires? I don't know about that. I need actual evidence, but I am intrigued by the stories that I hear when people talk about this, because they actually believe what they experienced. And who am I to judge others? Because I've had crazy experiences throughout my life, that I can't explain.
Yeah, I know, but if I lived by who am I to judge others, I would never say anything. So you would go all Abe Lincoln on vampires? You want to get one? Is that what you want to do? You want to bring one back?
We would we'd be vampire hunters.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. There it is.
Vampire sisters.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
There's
Vampire hunting sisters.
Yes.
The Lost Girls. The Lost Girls. Anybody? Is this on? We gotta make sure we get it out on the hour, just because now we're running the double shows, and everything is just getting a little 5-minute bump on the end. What would you like to say to wrap up? Any more information you'd like to give out, Dave? Or would you like to go last?
Actually, I found out that someone very important to me recently passed away. Her name was Susan Morgan, and she was the owner of the Mystic Dream Center. And I met her at an Intuitive Arts Festival here in Rhode Island. And she spoke about dreaming with such passion. It just ignited something within me. And if there wasn't a Susan Morgan, there wouldn't be a Dreamy David Barr, because she's the one who really sparked my interest in dreaming, and she was a teacher, a mentor, and a friend. I will miss her dearly, and I will be forever grateful for the time that I had with her. She's one of those people that truly changed my life, and I know she changed a lot of other lives. She wrote a book called I don't know if you guys can see this.
Hold on. Give
Power of
me
Dreams.
give me a second to do this to you.
All right.
And now you disappeared. You
Now
look
I'm disappearing. I'm fading. She wrote this book called The Power of Dreams. You can find that on Amazon.
Oh, you sound like a gun. There you are.
Now we switched.
Yeah, now
Just
now
a
it's like
really
hot potato.
amazing person and a beautiful soul. I will miss her dearly. I hope she visits in dreams. And just, again, someone who really changed my life. And I will be forever grateful for the time that I had with her. So thank you, Susan, wherever
Well
you
said,
are.
Dave. Well said. And I would have to believe she would be in your dreams. If there's one person that would, it's probably going to be her. Cyn, what would you like to say to wrap up?
Sorry about that, David.
Thank you.
4 books on Amazon, Cyn Shrader Hill Author. If you've got stories that you would like for me to include in future books, please send me some information at Cyn Shrader Hill Author at gmail.com. Stop it, Mike. And I'm on Facebook. You can find me Elk Valley Paranormal on Facebook or Cyn Shrader Hill Author. And you can also go to elkvalleyparanormal.com.
Thanks, Cyn. Mandy, what would you like to say to wrap up?
All right, guys, if you want to go check us out, we're on all social media. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and you can also go follow me if you're interested in a mediumship reading, Intuitive Medium Mandy on Facebook.
Okay. What I want to say about what you said before was, I think we just let go. I think it's because of the way you told it. Like at one point, I think you were saying, and one guy told this guy, and then that guy, and I'm like, oh man, we hit like 3 guys. I'm lost. Like when you hit 3 guys, you say 2 guys. Dave, what's the rule on guys? Can you check that, please? I think it's only 2, because you can be like, this guy said to that guy, and you're like, all right. But when you go, this guy said to that guy, he said to this guy, I'm like, hey, I don't even want to know what he knows. So, by the time I get to that 3rd guy, it's done. Dave, what's the rule?
Ask Bing. Bing will tell you.
All right.
Um,
Still haven't Googled it.
Bing.
Yep, still haven't Googled what Bing is. Guys, I had a great time. Thank you for all your stories. Dave, my apologies again. Sympathies. I'm going to wrap it up like this. For the Machine Mandy, for Dreamy David Barr, for Cyn Shrader Hill Author at Gmail, for myself, this was Legit. Paranormal News brought to you by Legit. Podcast.com. We will see you again. Stay tuned for Into the Legit Darkness with Rini